Hello.
Hello.
I think people are listening in on our conversation already.
Hi.
Hello. All right. Okay, we're gonna get going. Super excited here. I'm Grace, everyone. Grace Liao from the Quantic engagement team. I'm one of the engagement coordinators here. Invisible to you, but very much present is Kelsey Duggan from our marketing team. She'll be manning the chat box and she's helping us making sure everything is working well. So thank you, Kelsey. Um, Next to me and to my side, you see is Berthine Crèvecoeur West, who we will start talking to in a moment. But let me just get a few things out of the way. First of all, I'm gonna take a breath. This is our first LinkedIn Live, and Bertine and I were just talking about how excited we were. So really, really thankful that you are here with us, taking some time out of your very busy day, no doubt. Shout out to all of you who are Quantic students. We love that you're here supporting us, supporting another Quantic student here and just joining the conversation. And we are also super excited if you are not yet one of our Quantic friends and listening in. So welcome to all of you out there. Today's session will be approximately 45 minutes and we will be recording this presentation. So if you need to jump off, no worries. We'll share a recording later this week on our account. We'd love to see also where all of you are logging in from. So that comment box on the side, please use it. Use it. Let us know where you're hailing from. We love to see the countries and the cities. And also that comment box will just be an extension of this conversation. So use it also for comments and sharing later. So the title of this event and really the start of a series is conversation. And why a conversation? At Quantic, and we do not take this lightly or say it lightly, we have culturally intelligent, hungry to learn, humble and interesting students. AKA we have the best students, and it's true. Part of what we do at Quantic is we create opportunities for our students to engage with each other, to meet one another, to build community. That is so critical to us, especially as a virtual and online program. But we want to extend that community to you as well, to all of you out in LinkedIn land. So that's why we're doing this event. And starting with today's event, we'll be hosting things like this, conversations, and maybe some other things. We really are excited to see the possibilities. And do let us know if you're curious about other things. And back to the topic of conversations. Again, why? Really, that's the way to get to know somebody. Um, Maybe it's messaging, maybe it's chat. We're all in a world now where we're used to having conversations in all different ways, but this is the best kind when you're talking to someone live in person. And so we're starting our event series with Bertine, and she's right next to me. And I feel so much more secure having you on screen with me, Bertine, I have to tell you. So I thank you for taking the time to join us. And audience, again, as I mentioned, you are part of this conversation as well. Use the comment box to inject your thoughts. And if you agree with something or if you have questions, that's definitely there for you to use. Now I'd love to introduce Bertine officially, so she doesn't have to keep sitting there. Bertine Crèvecoeur West is a certified diversity executive, conflict resolution strategist, learning and development specialist, best-selling author, award-nominated podcast host, editor-in-chief of Global Fluency magazine, and an international speaker. She is the CEO of both Westbridge Solutions and Global Fluency Creative, which we'll talk about more later. Bertine has been featured on both domestic and international media outlets, including NBC, CBS, and Fox. Bertine holds a master's degree in government and politics and an executive MBA from Quantic School of Business Technology. Prior to starting her entrepreneurial journey, Bertine worked in the corporate and healthcare sectors as a multilingual professional. Her passion for learning and sharing knowledge with others led her to her role as a trainer and public speaker. Bertine, you wear many hats and you love to learn. You're an active active individual. I'm going to start with an easier question just to kind of get us warmed up. As a woman on the go, a leader, a CEO, a mom, a wife, all of those things, you're really, really busy. What is your morning routine typically?
Well, first, I want to say thank you, Grace, and thank you, Kelsey, for the support, and thank you to Quantic for having me on today, especially for this live LinkedIn series, the first one. So, I also want to take a quick moment to shout out the class of December 2021, my cohort, and the current students right now. I see everyone's joining us from so many wonderful places in the world. So, Singapore, Pakistan, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, so Pennsylvania. So, I just wanted to shout everyone out. And to answer your question, my morning routine, the first thing that I do, and I'm going to keep it very, very real for you guys because I believe in transparency. I really think seeing behind the scenes is really how we can all help each other, particularly during this past 2 years that we've been going through with the pandemic. So keeping it real, I wake up in the morning and my first thing before I get out of bed is to express gratitude. And so for some people, that might look like prayer, it might look like meditation, it might look like anything. Now, while I don't have all the time in the world, because who does, I take a few minutes to take stock of who I am, what I'm doing today, what my mental plan is. I go through my mental steps. And then I get up, I brush my teeth, I take a shower, I make the bed. I feel like making the bed is so very important. I get teased a lot about that by my friends, but my home is my sanctuary. Always has been, always will be, but now more so than ever. So it's really important for me thinking about coming home at the end of the day, even if that's just going upstairs, right, or in another room. I want my sanctuary to be a welcoming place. So it helps me set a pattern for the day. And then, working virtually and in a hybrid way for quite some time, ever since I started my companies, I get dressed for work. I put on my clothes, I put on my, perfume. I do all of those things because that brings normalcy to my day. So even when I was working in corporate America, I'm doing the same thing I'm doing now, only, now that I get to do this work, that's my heart work as well as my hard work, I'm having fun doing it. And then, you make breakfast for your family, you get them out the door, particularly as I have a young son. How I measure success is through time. And so my time is something I hold very dear. I consider it a valuable commodity. And so part of what I do every day is to drive him to school. I think it's really important. I want him to remember that mom can fill in the blank, right? Mom can run companies, mom can do this, but mom can also bring you where you need to go. Now, that's not something everyone can do, but it's the thing that I can do, not only to show love, but to value the time that we have together in this busy day.
Awesome. Just listening to you, Bertine, really, and it was such a, simple question I asked you, but I just got so much insight into how you operate in life in general. By the way, the bed making, critical. I remember reading it somewhere on a website that if you do nothing else, start your day making your bed, and it's just a great way to start as an active, intentional thing to do. But let's expand a little bit on what you already started to give us insight into, which is your philosophy for life, your kind of your the things that drive you. And by the way, audience, Bertine has tons of nuggets of wisdom. So get your notebooks and write some things down. I already have some things written down myself. A question I want to ask you is, and we will get to some of the learning aspect, the Quantic aspect, and also the work that you do. But what do you see as your mission in life, both personal and professional?
Wow, I love that question, Grace. So, my mission in life is honestly very simple. It's to help people, myself included in that group, um, to have better relationships with one another, better conversations with one another. There's nothing more important than being seen. And by seen, I don't just mean visually, I mean being heard, being empathized with, being understood, cared for. That is my goal in life, to create a place where we feel safe, we feel happy, we live with joy. I think our time in this world is so short. We have to seize joy. It has to be an intentional thing that we do. And so for me, I love talking to people. I love it. It really makes me happy. I love, and that doesn't mean I have to agree with anyone. I love a heated debate. I love that we can have an exchange of differences as well as similarities. I love, my favorite conversation is one where someone doesn't agree with me, because I can agree by myself, right? But my favorite conversation is when, maybe we want to just get to a deeper heart of something, right? And we all do things, whatever those things may be, but do we ever stop to ask each other why we do a certain thing, right? I think that's a growth opportunity. It's a place where we can nurture the garden of friendship. It's a place where we can lead with grace and compassion internally as well as externally.
That those the values and the foundation of how you operate as a person, just in your worldview, really looking at people and the importance of connections, that no doubt ties in deeply and is part of your mission for work, the reason why you started the companies and the initiatives that you have, which hopefully we'll get to also. But let me add another layer to that. So I'm pretty sure most of us have even if it's in the back of our minds or subconscious, a motto that we kind of use in our day as we approach problems or good things, bad things, whatever they are. Um, do you have a personal motto that fuels and drives all the things that you do?
Most definitely, most definitely. I have it, I need it, I embrace it every day in multiple ways. Sometimes unconsciously, even I've trained myself to do that. And as you and I were talking about in the green room, I'm a data nerd. I love data. It means, for me, data doesn't lie. It can lead us where we need to go. And so my favorite thing, my motto, is the quote by Socrates: "Know thyself." Right? And every day, we're posed with, challenges in the world. Some of them are existential, some of them not so much, but why do we do things that we do, right? That can lead us to making better decisions. So I do what I call an internal SWOT analysis. I do it with my clients, I do it with myself. I'll never ask somebody to do something that I myself haven't done, because I am my first test subject. And so, to that end, I have to rise to the occasion. And when we take a moment to be introspective and really list our strengths, our weaknesses, our obstacles, and our threats, sometimes we see what is perceived, and then sometimes we see what's actually real. Sometimes our obstacles and threats are internal, and sometimes they are external. But my motto in knowing myself really opens the door for me to wanting to know more about everybody else. I have a natural curiosity, as I said, of people, and this desire to really just navigate the world in a way that might seem different, but it really makes me want to just be an active global citizen, even though I live locally.
That's excellent. To know that it seems so simple, right, as a concept, but it's deep work that we probably, um, you know, younger versions of us might understand it one way, and then
Mhm.
through different phases in life. Is that something that you, in the process of knowing yourself and understanding yourself, um, have you learned some things that you didn't learn, some interesting things about yourself?
Most definitely. I
Like one.
I I mean, some of it's pretty, some of it's not so much, right? Because sometimes when we choose to live simply by the know thyself motto, right? As you said, Grace, so eloquently, it's the work that's the hard part, right? So sometimes we learn things about ourselves and we're like, oh, could I have reacted better to that? Yeah, I could have, right? So for me, knowing myself means knowing why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, because once I have the why, what a lot of us refer to as triggers, right? Once I have the why, then I can deconstruct it and say, well, okay, now you know why you're acting a particular way or you've behaved in a particular way in the past. What are you going to do to course correct if that's even necessary, right? Because that's going to decide the trajectory of my future and my future interactions with people. We do have a choice. And a lot of us talk about emotional intelligence. This is an opportunity for us to exercise it. Now, while I'm talking about it, under no means does that always mean that I am successful in doing it. But the part for me that is the most fun is doing that work, doing that mental exercise, using my critical thinking skills to really try to create the best outcome possible for myself and those around me.
Yeah, excellent. The I'm gonna shift a little bit, but it's still going to stay with some of the themes that you've already established, really in who you are. This is what I love about you. There are aspects to your person that ring true no matter what you're doing. I bet if I hung out with you for another, 5, 6 times, I'd get to know you even better. But I feel like with you, Bertine, your principles kind of they're a thread through all the things you do. So I'm going to pivot now to learning, and we know that you love learning. You're a lifelong learner, data nerd, all those things. Um, so the MBA, obviously, we know each other, and the only way we know each other is because you joined the Quantic EMBA program. And so, as far as the MBA and pursuing it, maybe I'll start with an easier question. What made you choose to pursue an MBA?
Well, I knew this. I knew we were going through some radically difficult, challenging, and traumatic times. And I thought to myself, how am I going to survive this? And not only survive this, not only the physical part of staying safe, right? But how is my business going to survive this? I started my business a very long time ago, and you know, a year prior, I thought, okay, well, at the onset of the pandemic, I thought, I don't know that my business will be able to survive this. What am I going to do? And then I thought, do what you've been doing for your clients, right? Do that internal SWOT analysis. And I plotted a course for myself mentally. And I knew, again, loving data, I knew that not only did I have to learn how to be more agile in my business and how to pivot appropriately, but I needed the credentials that would enable and empower me to do that. I needed to, because my mom was always a huge, my family in general, but my mom in particular, a huge fan of education, right? But education has to be applied. And I thought in order for me to really be the best at what I do, or at least endeavor to do so, I need to learn because I know what I know, but I for sure know what I don't know. And business schools seemed to me, and I was researching schools for a while, and business schools seemed to me, this big monster. But I knew that if I bet on myself, if I found the right school that was appropriate for my lifestyle, my learning style, which is really important to me as well, then I could do it. And that doesn't mean it was going to be easy, not at all. But I knew that if I bet on myself, I would come out on top. And not only would I survive, but I would thrive. And so when I found the Quantic program, I still did some more research on it. And it really was the best decision that I could have made for my education and my business and my life.
Thanks for that. It's I did have a question I was thinking about this morning, because of course I know that if I'm talking to a Quantic student, obviously you made this choice, so and you finished the program. Was it you talked about learning style, lifestyle, and obviously all of our students, they are busy with life, work, family, their own businesses, just like you. There are a number of other things going on. So busy is an understatement for yourself and most of our students, if not all. Was it? How was the adapting to Quantic's learning model, because it's so different. I would say it's not even like most other online learning models, but that's something I thought about a lot, even as an employee in the program and doing the program, that it's so different. How was the adapting and the transitioning into this style of learning?
Well, I have to say, I'm a visual learner. And so for me, the visuals of it were first stunning and simple, right? Nothing that was distracting for me. And really, it was the training was developed in a very sequential manner, which I loved. I loved how things were broken down. I loved how I knew I was exactly, where exactly I was in my training, because at some point further down the line, as my time with Quantic went on, I had to start going out into the world again, which required me to travel. So I love the portability of the program. I mean, literally, you have an EMBA in your pocket, on your phone, on your laptop. I mean, who else can go to school doing that? One of my classmates, shout out to my accounting case study group. They were amazing. Some of us were, she had mentioned she was at her son's baseball game and she was, studying. I was, in a hotel room, about to go, do the things that I do for work. And during breaks, I would go back up and I have an exam, I have this to do, I have that to do. On Sundays, I think my husband might actually be attending today. So if he's out there, shout out to you, Carl. But he just like, I'd wake up at 5:30 in the morning and, again, he would just take over for the weekends with our son because he knew this was such a priority, not only for me, but for us as a family. And so, I was excited to come to school because I'd be learning something in a way that resonated with me. And I got to tell you, for you guys to get me even interested in accounting, I was just like, okay, this is a place where I want to be. And, I practically, if I could have had a party because I passed my accounting final, I would have, but then learning so much about, pricing strategies and leadership and, all of these amazing courses, real life things, courses with real life applications, not only for your business, but, for your personal growth. Those things to me, the manner in which Quantic delivered them and how it was structured was just amazing. And I knew during the program that I had made the best choice for myself. And for sure, by the time it was over and ended, I was just, I'm waiting for your PhD program. I told you guys that back in the green room, but I loved it. I loved it. And I got to meet the most amazing people from all walks of life. And some of them even resided in my home city of Atlanta. So, I mean, it was just fantastic.
That's so fun to hear. I never get tired of hearing students talk about their learning experience. And something that you mentioned, accounting, which a lot of anyone who's students out there, you've who have gone through it, it's a challenging one. But there's in the learning process, especially going into something that you're not sure. Should I do an MBA? Do I know enough? Or is accounting going to stump me? There's a confidence piece that is so critical in both the decision to pursue a learning program. Am I enough? Am I going to be able to do this? And then the results of after you pass through it. So could you talk a little bit about just confidence in general and how that experience was for you through the learning process?
Most definitely, most definitely. So I know for, so many of us, the thought of an MBA or an EMBA seems like, this very high mountain to climb. And while it is, because I don't want to misrepresent myself or the school and say, oh, this is simple, right? Because it's not. It requires dedication, commitment, time, energy, right? But I will say this. Oh, there's my husband. Hey, honey. But but it requires a lot. But I definitely think that, wait, Grace, he threw me off because I was saying hey to him. Just ask me the question again. Here we go, hooking live.
Carl, do we need to bring you in the conversation? No, it's fine. It's
There
just
we go.
expand. No, no worries. Just expand on confidence as a thing that we struggle with, and as we go through a learning process, and this is what we hear this a lot from our students, is what happens when you come out of it and you cross the finish line, what that does to your confidence.
So I'll break that down into two parts, my professional self and my personal self. So personally, I've always been a confident person, but that doesn't mean that I don't have moments of doubt, right? We all deal with imposter syndrome at one level or another, or if we haven't already, we might, in life. So it's knowing that you know what you already know, but are you good enough? Will you be able to deliver? Right? For me, that's always the challenge. Can I make whatever goal I have happen? Right? Can I achieve that goal? So that's always something that really gives me pause. It does make me nervous, and what I've learned to do is turn that distress that we tend to feel into eustress, right? Into that adrenaline. So I take that anxiety and I make it into my catalyst. I make it into my motivating force. So I'm going to do this. Period. That's personally how I see this, right? Regardless of whether it's hard or not. I may fall, I may fail, I may stumble, but I will get back up. So that's the personal side of it for me. My experience at Quantic with my confidence on the professional side, I'll backtrack a bit. I, for a long time, was an employee at my own company, and that was not a good thing, right? So, what my experience at Quantic helped me do was to really step into my CEO-ness. No longer was it a title, but it was who I was, because now not only did I have the qualifications and the credentials and all the pretty letters to go behind my name, but I actually had developed a sort of I don't want to say rigor, but I actually had developed this stamina, this professional stamina, and also this professional gravitas that I'd not carried before. So literally, I felt like I was walking taller, with my head up high. And now when I walked into a room, yes, I'm still Berthine Crèvecoeur West, but this is the CEO of Westbridge Solutions, not only by title, not only by name, but by might and by fight and by everything it takes to get through a rigorous program like this.
I love that. It's real. I mean, if we could visibly see the increase in confidence that students, not just an MBA program, I think just learning in general, but certainly when us as professionals and adults make a choice to learn something that we don't feel confident in, but we know we probably need, and to see that in real life played out. You were talking about the application of learning. This is real life, right? And so for you to, I love the way you unpack that. The CEO-ness is you're really a CEO, or you feel it and you live it, and now you have the knowledge and the language to back it. So that is so powerful. And I think we almost forget that how transformational the learning aspect is, and done from your hand, your cell phone too, which still blows my mind.
Which
Let
really,
me,
I wanted to add
yeah,
also, Grace, that not only
yeah.
did I see it, but one of my clients, I went out to a summit that was being had, and I decided to participate as a corporate sponsor. And when I came to meet with this client during a break, he said something to me that was amazing. He said, "Bertine, I love how you're showing up in the world now," and that to me was
Mm.
everything. Because not only did I feel it, but clearly this was radiating with people just in my sphere. So I was very grateful for that.
Ah, that's how you know. That's how you know it's something has changed. So that's so powerful. All right, so we are just a really quick pause for a moment. We're at the half past mark, and folks in the when I say folks, folks in the world, if you, I do see we have a couple questions which I want to get to a few of them. By the way, we may not get to all the questions, but there are one or two more that I want to ask for Teen, especially about the business that she runs, which is so important. Um, so uh, the first question is what motivated you to choose to pursue the work that you do in diversity, equity, inclusion, conflict resolution, all the work that you do at Westbridge Solutions and Global Fluency Creative?
I will tell you, failure motivated me, or what I perceived as failure at the time, which turned out to be one of the best lessons I've ever had. So when I'm originally a New Yorker, and so when I moved down here, I had one job in Georgia ever. And so I was laid off when I was 3 months pregnant. And then I thought to myself, that's when the whole SWOT analysis started, because I really had to take stock of what I was good at, what I wasn't good at, what I wanted to do, and what I didn't want to do. And so often in life, we do what we're good at, but that we don't love. Right. So I thought to myself, what are my skills and how can I use my skills to really drive my passions, because passion without structure is chaos. And so I thought, what can I do to use all of these things that make me me and live the life that I want? And I thought to myself too, I want the baby to be proud of me. Right. That was a simple thing, but it was really this motivating factor for me. And so then I'm a multilingual person. I speak 4 languages fluently. And so what I sought to do was use those language skills because they had worked for me in corporate America. They really were ways to elevate what I brought to corporate America and my experience when I was in New York. So I thought, why not do the same thing here? But this time, why not do it for myself? Because I know that speaking another language is a skill, it is a gift, and it really, when you use it and leverage it in the right way, you can really open up doors. So I sought to first become a translator. And so I got my training for that because I do believe in knowledge and education, because that's how we can do things the right way, right? That's beneficial for us and will always lead to a hopefully successful outcome, right? You'll never regret your education. And so with that, I decided to then go into the world of interpretation. So when I first started with translation, 99% of my clients were outside of the United States. And then slowly it began to shift. And so then most of them were here in the States. Then I moved to interpretation. And I do believe that you should get, my mom used to always say this. She used to say, whatever you do, get your highest credential in it. It doesn't matter what you do, right? And so for me, I thought, well, now I have to get credentialed as a certified interpreter. So I sought to do that, and I became the first nationally certified interpreter for healthcare for Haitian Creole in the state of Georgia. My parents are originally from Haiti, and so French and Haitian Creole and Spanish have always been a part of my life. And I'm grateful for that because my mom said in the house, it's the Republic of Haiti, and outside, it's the United States. So I'm really grateful for that, even though at the time I didn't appreciate it. And so once I was able to do that, I pivoted and went into speaking and serving more languages. And by that, I mean educating people on certification, because lots of people only thought certification was for Spanish. You can do it for any language, but you have to first have that data, that information, so you know the right steps to take. So I started teaching interpreters because I wanted them to have a better training than I had received. And while my training was good, I knew I could do better and I could serve more people. And that became something that spread across the country once we started giving online offerings. Then I decided, shout out to Don Christian, I see my friend Don there. So then I decided to take that and pivot again, because, being successful in business requires you to be agile, right? And so that's what I kept doing, which I also recall in Quantic's leadership case study, being agile, what does that mean? And so I loved that particular case study. It's one of my favorites. But then I started speaking about cultural competence. And so my love of language led me to cultural competence. Cultural competence also led me to really want to expand on how people learned, right? How do you learn to be culturally competent? And what does that mean to the business world? What does that mean to the government sector, the nonprofit sector? Everyone learns differently. So I sought to then pair cultural competence with corporate soft skills, because that was the missing piece of the puzzle, at least for Westbridge Solutions. And I dare say we are a very unique boutique management consulting company with our offerings because we pair those two things together. So not only do we show people the what, which is what most cultural competence courses do, but we show them the why and the how. And for me, that led to me creating my other motto that I live by: data and process equals strategy. Because if you don't have one, you cannot have the other. Each of those are vital components. So that's how this company now got to be the company that it is today.
Unbelievable. It just evolved into wow, what you have to say. As I was listening to you um, walk us through the stages of how you got to where you are, if I might say, you've grown into yourself as a professional, as a person, the passions that you have. You're just coming closer and closer, centering into that sweet spot where all the things meet and converge, so that your impact is that much more for all those. I can tell you right now, I can't see all the comments, but I'm sure people are saying some incredible things, just reflecting back so many things that you're sharing right now as a business professional, as an entrepreneur. I wrote a lot of notes down too. So thank you so much. It's really important for us to hear someone else's story so that I or everyone else in the audience can resonate with certain parts. Like, okay, yeah, that could be me, or that is me, and she's going through it or has gone through it. So thank you so much for sharing all that. Now, we are I do have a question. Let me see if I can get one of the questions from the audience. Let's see. How do you rate your professional and personal growth from your EMBA experience? What advice would you have for an entrepreneur in today's workforce?
Oh, I love that question. So I rate my professional growth, on a score of 1 to 10. My experience with Quantic is a 20. It's been transformational. And I will tell everybody who can hear my voice this, it has been transformational. So for, my current Quantic, alums, I'm hoping this is true for you as well. And for the students right now at Quantic, I want you to know that when it seems the hardest, that's when you're just about to shine. So I want you to continue to keep on pressing on, because it's so worth it. This has provided me with a structure to reframe my narrative. And while my narrative was fine before, it was good, now it is something very different. Now I approach things with, what did I learn at Quantic? What did I learn at school? This lesson, how can I apply this lesson to a particular dilemma that the company may be facing? Or how do I apply, a pricing model to a new client portfolio? What am I going to do with that, right? The blue ocean, I think someone mentioned it here as well, because I'm peeking at the comments, but blue ocean, that particular course, I loved it so much. And that was the crazy thing about it. I never thought I would love business school. And even now, my husband at home, we were talking about something the other day, and I said, well, that's clearly, a contracting market versus an expanding one. And he was like blown away, because, that is mostly his world. And now we can share that world together, which I love, because that's one more layer of enjoyment that we can have in life, right? And so now, even with the investment courses that I saw, I just thought to myself, well, this is really great to know, learning about the stock market and index funds and all of those amazing things. Now I can apply that to my real life in a way that is super fun for me. And as a matter of fact, because of my experience at Quantic, literally the other day, I became an angel investor for the first time. So Quantic is having so many amazing benefits in my life. So I'm grateful for it. So confidence level, like, now I know that there is nothing that I can't do, that I want to do, right? But I also realize the value in investing your time. And so Quantic was an investment of my time. So, I dare say, you guys helped make me a better human.
That's it's because it was the right combination of things. It was the right learning platform for you. It was the information you needed. But Bertine, you did the work. So you
Yes, everybody must
and
do the work. You must do the
absolutely.
work.
So when that formula exists, then the possibilities and like what you're saying are kind of endless, and they just have a very long tail because you just use that knowledge going forward, and then it just becomes a part of you, which is what's so powerful about learning. Another question that I see is, at what point did you were talking about for a long time you were an employee in your own company. At what point did you realize that you were an employee in your own company, and what inspired you to get out of your comfort zone?
I realized I was an employee when I was overburdened with the workload, because I thought to myself, I had this artificial construct of what it meant to be an entrepreneur, and that's because I didn't have the knowledge that I needed at that time. I thought, okay, I'm going to, work all these hours, do all these things, and before you know it, and do all the things by myself, mind you. So that's the for anybody out there who's seen The Wizard of Oz, I felt like the wizard, once the curtain was open, it was me making all the things happen. And so I knew that I had to step back and think about my company and my executive presence and what that meant for me. And so I needed to reframe that, I needed to restructure it. And then I also had to, the way that you show up in the world, right? I could not be thinking about strategy if I was busy doing the admin side of the work, right? That meant I needed help. It meant I needed to work with other consultants. It meant that, I had to work on my brand and my presence and all of those things. So that's how I shifted and pivoted to that, because it was so very important. If I didn't do that, there was no way that my company could be the company that it is today. And today I consider it a complete entity. Before, something was always missing. I was trying to add something or take away something. And now when I look at Westbridge Solutions, it is a complete entity, which is how Global Fluency Creative came into being, which is how the Global Fluency podcast came into being, Global Fluency Magazine came into being. All of those things happened during the podcast I had prior to Quantic, but we've changed how we even do the podcast. But the magazine happened during my experience at Quantic. So for me, what this has been not only an elevation of myself and my business, but an evolution thereof. And so this has helped me serve people in a way that I hadn't yet imagined. And I do want to emphasize that once you achieve this goal and you do the work and you get your MBA or your EMBA, then you're the goal line. For all you soccer fans out there, I just want to shout you out real quick. But then, the goal line, the goal post, I should say, shifts, right? Now, the things that seemed so hard to do before, you're thinking about new goals to set that you couldn't even have fathomed before. So I really find that, once your education with Quantic, I don't want to say is done, because what I love is we can always go back and look at more new courses and things. So that was just a huge benefit to me as an alumnus. But once you've completed your MBA or your EMBA, there's still new bold adventures for you to do and take. And that to me is, again, the super fun part about it.
Thank you so much. You know what? We are actually at time, and I know that folks out there, I know there were more questions, and I was telling Bertine, we're going to end it like a really good show. We're going to leave you hanging, but only in a good way, because this first conversation is really just meant to stimulate more conversation. Bertine, you're probably going to get a few LinkedIn requests after this. Such wisdom that you share for us. I cannot thank you enough. I thanked you a million times before we started, and I'm going to thank you again. I see embodied in you all the good things that when we as adults try to do our best and have an eye on what's in front of us, and both the learning, the personal, professional, all of those. Just like I said, I think you're close to your sweet spot. Maybe you haven't reached it yet, but if you haven't, then you're doing great for sure, and such an inspiration to us. Everyone out there in the world, thank you for coming, Carl. Thank you for sharing your team with us. Lovely conversation. And so we will hope to have more of these kinds of conversations. There are more students that we would love to hear from as well. Bertine, maybe what we can talk about afterwards, maybe there needs to be a part two, I'm not sure. That would be awesome. If you're just, and in general, if you are interested in learning more about our MBA program, you know where to find us, whether it's on LinkedIn, and of course the links are all there to find us. And okay, well, everyone probably has important things they have to head off to, more meetings. Thank you again for taking the time to sit with us and spend some time in this conversation.
Thank you guys so much.